Hey guys, I'm Jingles, and today I'm going to be showing you all how to shade skin for Minecraft skins. If you like this video and it helps you out, don't forget to subscribe, like, and recommend it to a friend. Enjoy! I'm just going to start off with some general tips before we get into the specifics. First off, the most common mistake I see by far is when people are doing lighter tones of skins. Beginners think that it derives off of a yellow, like if you're trying to get a peach color. That is not true. That looks not like skin. That's not the color you want. Actually, what it derives off of is a redder or a more orangey color. You can get a really nice lighter skin color if you start with a red hue like up here with the color wheel. And also if you wanted to do like a darker color, totally feel free to even go into the purples over here. You can get some good stuff, but I mostly stay in like the pinky red area over here. Starting out, first thing you want to do whenever you're making any type of skin is of course mark the front side. Way too many times, as I've mentioned before, people will complete their skins and they'll realize they did it backwards. Very unfortunate. So today I'm going to be using a fantasy color. I think I'm going to be using a blue skin color. So you can imagine it as whatever you want. Follow along on your own editor with whatever shades you want. We are going to be starting with the arms. For the arms, first off, the general trend is that you are going to want to, of course, use the mirror tool down here. But the general trend is darker shades will be towards the inside, meaning closer to the body, and lighter shades will be towards the outside. Obviously, that's not complete shading. That looks really trash. We're going to fix that. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is find your palette. You're going to need 4 different shades for this. So we're going to start with our darkest color. Let's just try that. I'm going to just put them on the face. And then we're going to go lighter. We're going to go even lighter. And we're going to go even lighter, just so you get 4 shades like that. And once again, feel free to change all of these around. You don't have to keep the same colors. You can change the lightness and darkness. Do whatever you need or see fit as you are going. So first, what you're going to do is you're going to take your darkest shade, and you're only going to select the arms so that you can see what you're doing better. And you are going to place 2 pixels in a line at the top and 2 at the bottom. And then you're going to count 4 down from the top. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. Don't place those there. I just like using it as a counter. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And then at the 5th pixel, you're going to add 1 pixel right there. So there should be 4 in between the top and 3 in between the bottom. And that's all you have to do for your darkest shade. Next, you're going to take your second darkest shade. And you're going to complete both along the top and the bottom a little square right here. So it goes all the way on the outside. And then you're going to complete the inside. So notice how we're using our darkest shades, like I said before, towards the middle. And our lighter shades are going to be filling the rest in. One general trend that I do want to also mention is that your lighter or lightest shades should never be touching your darkest shades. So see how here, our second darkest shades create sort of like a barrier in between our darkest and lighter shades. That's good. That's what you want. Now, while I'm filling this in, which you should also do, I'm noticing that I think that this third darkest color is a little bit too different from our second darkest color. I'm just gonna make that a little bit darker here. Okay, and finally, this looks good. It looks solid. However, you're gonna need some highlights. Highlights are really important in making your skins pop. So you're gonna take your lightest color, and for 2 pixels, both on top of this little elbow bend here and on bottom, you will put 2 pixels for highlights. And that looks really good. That looks shiny. It emulates how humans actually work. You have the little elbow bend right here and darker towards the top and the bottom to simulate kind of a circular shape. Now, I'm going to tell you that legs are very similar, luckily. They're basically the same thing, except they are 1 pixel wider, as you may have noticed. Arms are 3 pixels wide, and legs are 4. So you're going to start the same way with your darkest color. You can use the color picker tool right here to just tap one of your colors and select it, so you'll get the same exact hue right here. So what we're going to do, start off really simple, is using your mirror tool once again. Just put a line down the middle. The same trend applies here. Darker colors will be towards the inside and lighter will be towards the outside. So that's simple first step. Okay, you're going to take your darkest color again, and wherever you see fit, somewhere in the middle, I think I'm going to go, is this exactly the middle? No, that's one more up. You're gonna add a little bend. So that simulates the knees. Kind of like our little elbow bend right here on the legs, we're gonna have the knees right there. And then after that, you are done for now with the darkest color. You're gonna take your second darkest color, and like we did on our arms, you're just gonna line that like so. And also like the arms, you'll see at the end, we have a little more at the bottom of our darkest color. So we're gonna do the same thing there. And then finally, you're gonna fill in the rest with your third darkest color. That's actually not final. You're gonna do the same thing as we did up here with the highlights. Right above the bend, you're gonna add 2, and right below it, or I suppose there's 1 pixel in between, but almost right below it, you're gonna also add 2 pixels there for the highlights. And that's so far looking really awesome. That's good. Next, we are going to moving on to the torso. Which unfortunately is the trickiest part, because it's not always an exact formula. If you are using basically anything other than like a hoodie or a shirt, or a longer length shirt, you are going to have a different shading. But like I said, if you are using any of those 2 things, you're probably going to want something similar, or just skin for a reference. So first thing first, you're going to use your darkest shade. Before we start, I will say this trend is different. You know how on the legs and the arms we did darker towards the middle? That's not going to be true for here. You're going to have darker towards the outside, meaning more towards the arms, more towards the legs, and the inner parts will be lighter shades. So what I like to think of this as is following into the middle. What do I mean by that? You have your arms here. You are going to take your darkest shade, which you already have right here, and just continue that onto the middle. So you're just doing the exact same thing with the darkest shade that you did on the end of the arms at the beginning of the torso. So just like that on both sides. So you're just continuing the shades for both the darkest shade and your second darkest shade right here. You can go do that right now. Okay, so that should look like, oops, I forgot this. That should look like that so far. If you'll notice, like I already said, you do not want your darkest shades to touch your lightest shades. So we're gonna add that little spike right there. Like that's the same thing on the arm. Okay, and after that, we are going to add over here, just complete this top 2 pixels with your second darkest shade. So it goes all the way across. Once again, it's similar to the arms. You have your lighter shade, your darker shade. Then you have your lighter shade and your darker shade, just like that. Finally, I keep saying finally, I don't mean finally. Next, we are going to take our third lightest shade and just fill in everything. This is definitely not the final product, but I like to just get everything done before I make some adjustments. This is kind of the general shape. Next, you're going to be adding some highlights. What do highlights look for here? You know, it's definitely not the same as the other parts of the body. It would look really weird if you did that. Well, it doesn't look too weird, but in my opinion, it looks strange. So what we're going to do, instead of doing vertical highlights, we're going to do some horizontal highlights. So anywhere above this little, crease right here, you see this little, like the little elbow crease that we did, but in the middle, we are going to add a 2 pixel long horizontal highlight. And below that, we're going to add a 4 pixel long one. It doesn't really matter the exact spot. Like you could have put that one right up there. You could have put this one right down here. But I think that spot looks good. Now, if you notice, this looks awkward. This area right here, what is happening? I don't know. So that's why we're going to do some edits. Really, there's no exact formula, but you want to make it look natural. So even that doesn't look natural. Like this kind of abruptly ends this darkest shade right here. So what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to connect this darkest shade with this darkest shade somehow. So it kind of flows more evenly. And like we said, you do not want your darkest shade to touch your lighter shade. So I think I'm going to do that. And let's add a little bit more down here. Don't be afraid to add a lot of shading. Like you can have as much or as little as you want. I think I'm satisfied with that. So let's take a look at the final product. We added something to the leg. We have our darkest shade now extended out to here and our second darkest shade right there. I know, I broke my own rule. Look at this right here. Lightest shade touching our darkest shade, except I feel like this looks awkward. Like if you add that right there, that looks pretty awkward. So I'm just gonna leave it. But as a general rule, please follow that. Next, our torso, let's take a look. Okay, so we just have a little, sideways C. If you watched my hair tutorials, you will know I love saying that. Right there. That looks awesome. face, I want to say one thing. If you watch any of my other tutorials, you will know that how much I value the outer layer. Like, I value it so much, it's a super useful tool. You'll notice that here, we haven't done any. That's because this is a skin shading. Obviously, some people have like more muscular builds or something like that, and you can definitely add outer layer to skins. Like, definitely feel free to do that. I just normally don't. Okay, so onto the face. Let's delete this stuff. And first, this is not a hair shading guide, but I'm going to add the general, I don't know, let's just use a random color. I'm just gonna add the general shape of the hair that I normally do for the non-outer layer, like that. And then I'll also add the eyes. I'm just gonna fill them in. Okay, so those are the spots that the eyes would go in and the hair would go in. Obviously that looks really bad, but this is not a hair or eye tutorial. So the main thing that we want to keep in mind when we are doing face shadings is diagonal shadings. So what I mean by that is you are going to start off with your lightest shade. So I just took it from the highlights right there. And directly diagonally down from your left eye, you're going to put 1 pixel, just 1. Then you are not going to take your second lightest shade, but you are going to notice the relationship between your first lightest shade and your second. So if you'll see over here, what's happening is it's just going down. You might notice that this wheel moves as well, but it's just important to notice where the direction of your darker shades are heading, because you're not going to use the exact ones. We're going to take that relationship, which is just going down, and make it only slightly darker. It's really almost the same shade as the first one that we used, but it's just slightly darker. We're going to talk about that diagonal shading I mentioned. So diagonally up from this pixel, you are going to put 2 pixels just like that. And you're just going to do the same thing all the way up. You're going to take a slightly darker shade, just very slightly, and keep doing that diagonal shading, and just keep going. Alright, you've reached the top. Now what do you do? Well, once you've reached the top, meaning your left side is all the way up and you've hit the hair, you just take this exact same shade and move it over there. Over here, you're going to take this shade and now make it a little bit darker and just fill this in over here. So it's kind of like the same thing, except it's just darker on this side. And that's the general trend. To the right, the shades are all a little bit darker, and to the left, they're all a little bit lighter. Now on the bottom, you're not going to do the same thing. You are going to take the next darkest shade over. We're going to start on the right, so you have this shade. The next darkest shade happens to be the one above. So you're just going to continue that diagonal shading. If you actually notice, this shade, and this shade are all the same. So next, you're going to take your darkest color and do that over there. If you were to draw a diagonal line through the eye, it would still be the diagonal shading. Over here, we're going to do the same thing, just like that, diagonal shading and diagonal shading. And that's the face shading. If you want to add a little blush, you can totally do that with like a pinker color, or in this case, just a darker color. So I just selected some of the darker colors up there and made a little blush like that. Okay, to final this out, this looks really weird connecting to the torso right here. Like you have these really light shades and you have like these darker shades down here. Oftentimes you'll have a shirt, but if you do have like a little collar or something right here, pretend this is like a shirt over here. You can just have these colors come down right here using your color picker tool like that. So however big your collar is, like if it's 4 pixels wide, you can do something like this. Or down here, you can just continue those shades using the diagonal shading. Notice how this right here, whoopsies, how this color right here is the same color as this color, and this color is the same color as this color. So really, the key to shading faces is the diagonal shading. Well, that's great, except I only have one side done. There's a whole back and the entire side. Well, fear not, I'm here to tell you it is a lot easier than you are probably thinking. To do the sides, you just do kind of what we did with the arms and the torso here. You do your continuing shading. So you're going to take the color that you already have using the color picker tool and just slide it along over here. Same thing here. You have this color right here, you're just going to keep going. Whatever you see on the last pixel right here, you're just going to continue over on the side. Except for when you get to the elbow bend, you can't really do that. That looks really weird, and plus you didn't have this pixel covered right here, but what you can do is add 2 pixels just in the middle on the side like that to emulate the elbow bend. And we're going to also have some highlighting just the same way, just like that. So it's right above the elbow bend and right below with that 1 pixel in the middle. Same thing as what you did on the front. On the top, you're gonna continue that shading again. You're gonna take the shade that's already there and just fill that in. Fill that in over here and fill that in over here. You should know that the mirror tool does not work, unfortunately, on the torso, so you have to do that yourself, but it is what it is. Alright, on the bottom, I'm doing the same thing here, just color picking the color and continuing it where it was. The legs are very similar to the arms, as we already discussed, just same thing. The knee bends right here. You're going to do the same thing that we did with the elbows up there. You're going to add that little too long bend and just continue around it. Make sure you add your highlights, very important. And notice how the highlights are 1, 2, 3 pixels back. They are not in this spot right here. I used to do that, and I just found it looks a lot better if you do it like this. It looks more natural for some reason. I'm not sure why, but as you probably noticed, 4 is not an odd number, so there is no middle number. Ideally, like over here on the front where we have 3 pixels wide, you can just put the highlights in the middle, but for here it doesn't work like that. Sorry. Okay, when we get to the inside, make sure you get all sides, by the way. If you want to like get a body part away, you just click it. Or if you want to get back, you just click it again. We are continuing our shading just like that. And the mirror tool should take care of it for your arms on both sides. And continuing it just like that here on the legs. And make sure you get under the arms. This is the spot that I most often forget, and it's really sad. Okay, we're down to the torso. Still the same exact thing. Really not that complicated. You're just taking the shades and continuing them over. Okay, this is actually somewhat complicated. I will explain this to you. So first, I'm just going to put down where the hair would be. You can definitely figure that out by just watching what I did, or you can watch one of my hair tutorials, which is highly recommended. The ombre one is certainly my favorite video that I've made so far. Okay, we are going to continue with our diagonal shading here, finishing this up. You're going to color picker the darkest color first, which happens to be on the right. You're going to go straight down, all the way down, and then you're going to go 1 diagonally. So once again, that diagonal shading. We're just kind of creating a round little shape here. Then you're going to color picker over here and do the same thing. You're going to go all the way down, well, not all the way because you have this pixel here, and then to the side. But you will notice that this shade is the same shade as this shade. This shade is the same shade as this shade. It's just one off since it's darker. So you can do the same thing over here with the shade that you already used and avoid having to like go all the way there and just keep doing it. So you can just do that here again and over here because those are the same shade. And yep, you just filled the lightest shade in right there. Okay, so now you're wondering, how do I do the back? I don't want to do this whole thing over again. No problem. I suffered through that for you. I made skins for months that way, but I discovered the PMC, the Planet Minecraft editor, planetminecraft.com, has an epic feature where you can go, first off, I just downloaded the skin, and then I went to file, open file, and like got the file that I already downloaded. Has a really epic feature, which is clone mode. Copy pixels from skin to clipboard brush. So basically what you're gonna do is we're gonna copy this whole front and put it on the back. You have to do 1 limit at a time, which is annoying, but it's way less annoying than doing the whole thing in the regular editor. So you're gonna click this right here, click clone mode. You're gonna select the square brush, and then you're gonna select the dimension of the limb that you wanna do. We're gonna start with arms, so that means it's 3 pixels wide and 12 long. So we're gonna go width is 3, height is 12. Also, you want to uncheck this or else they both like the width and height slide at the same amount, so you want to have that unlocked. Okay, then you're going to go over here and you're just going to click to select the color. You're going to turn your skin around, and very important, you see how this limb is on like the right side? You want to go to the right side on the back, so you don't want to do it like on the same side. So if you copy this limb right here, you would not want to put it on this side right here, because if you notice, the darker part is towards the outside. That's the opposite. So what you can do is do this and put it on the other one. Or you can do this little flip on X-axis button, so that means you can do it over here. So it just flips it around. Then you're going to do the same thing with the torso, which is an 8x12 dimension, and the legs, which are 4x12. Okay, and then you download it and get it back into your editor. We are here with our completed skin. This, once again, is a model for skin, not clothes. If you would like to watch how to make clothes, I do have a video on that, as well as hair. This is obviously really ugly and not completed hair. Totally check out my guides on that. I really hope you enjoyed. This is my first non-scripted outro for unknown reasons, but if you did, once again, please like, subscribe, recommend this to anyone else who might be struggling, and leave a comment. Let me know what you think, if this was actually helpful, and any other advice you have, not related to skinning. No unsolicited advice. Thank you. Bye!